You have a prepaid call from
Singleton.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Do you know that you were actually chewing on her flesh, allegedly, when the cops came?
No, I didn't know nothing about that. The next thing I remember is waking up in a room by myself, and it was horrible. I mean, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here?
Do you remember getting angry at the victim or at her boyfriend?
I mean, all I can remember, the world was gonna end, and I had to find the devil and kill the devil before the world ended. That's the last thought that I had.
Los Angeles, 2002. A woman looked out the window of her apartment and witnessed something straight out of a horror flick. She saw a man, more than 6 feet tall, later identified as local rapper Big Lurch, with no clothes on, in the street. His face, chest, and stomach were covered in blood. The neighbor then contacted police. After she got off the phone, she ran to her friend's apartment, 21-year-old Tynesha Isaias, whose nickname was Pocahontas, and found her no longer alive, bloody, and with teeth marks on her face and pieces of her lung, which had been torn from her chest, leading many to wonder what happened on April 10th, 2002. Antron Big Lurch Singleton was born on September 15, 1976, in Fort Worth, Texas, but grew up in East Dallas. By the time he was 7, he started to write poetry and became inspired to become a rap artist. By 15, he started to perform his music to the public anytime the opportunity presented itself. He eventually began to rap about dark subjects like serial killers and murder as a part of a genre of hip-hop called horrorcore, penning lyrics like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, and all of your friends. I'm fenced to school ya, cause murder's a hobby. I'm using a torture chamber and not a Ruger. So if you wake up in a puddle of blood, I did it to you. Lyrics which would later come back to haunt him. He rapped under the name Big Lurch. His stage name was inspired by a character from the 1960s television comedy, The Addams Family. This is all according to the UK-based news site, The Mirror. As Big Lurch pursued his ambitions in the music industry, he also embraced the role of fatherhood after his son was born. Big Lurch moved to California to pursue his dreams of making it in the music business. According to the 2013 TV series, Drugs Made Me Do It, producer Mike Mosley, who worked with artists like E40 and Tupac, took Big Lurch under his wing. Through the years, he performed on his own and as a member of a group called The Cosmic Slop Shop, with the other members, Rick Rock and Dooney Baby. Their only album, The Family, was released in 1998. The single from the album, Sinful, peaked at number 66 on Billboard's Hot R&B and Hip Hop chart. While on the West Coast, he went to different clubs and networked with different artists. He worked with other rappers like Too Short and E40. In 1997, Big Lurch was featured along with Mystical on the RBL Posse song, How We Comin'. The Cosmic Slop Shop eventually disbanded. Big Lurch kept trying, but soon learned that establishing himself as an artist was more difficult than he had thought. In the year 2000, Big Lurch was driving home from his 24th birthday celebration when a drunk driver crashed into him. The tragic incident left him with a broken neck, and he temporarily lost his ability to walk, and he says he slipped into a coma. During his stay in the hospital, he was heavily medicated for pain. The pain that he experienced would stay with him long after being discharged from the hospital. Big Lurch said his insurance eventually stopped covering his pain meds. Entertainment news website grunge.com reports that in an attempt to self-medicate, Big Lurch turned to PCP, which he said provided relief from the constant pain. According to the Department of Justice, PCP, or phencyclidine, was developed in the 1950s as an intravenous anesthetic, but its use for humans was discontinued because it caused patients to become agitated, delusional, and irrational. Today, individuals abuse PCP because of the mind-altering, hallucinogenic effects that it produces. On April 9, 2002, Big Lurch was at the apartment of his friends and roommate, 21-year-old Tynesha Isaias, and her boyfriend, Thomas Moore, on 108th Street South and Figueroa Street in Los Angeles, California. Although specific details are unclear, Thomas Moore later told investigators that he and Big Lurch had smoked PCP, according to reports from the LA Times. In the documentary series, Rhyme and Punishment, Big Lurch speaks about that night, saying, quote, "We started smoking PCP, and they just kept feeding it to me and feeding it to me. The next thing I remember is I woke up in jail with a murder. According to the rapper, that's the last clear memory he has of the night's events. According to court records, on April 10th, 2002, around noon, Tynesha's friend Elisa Allen went to Tynesha's apartment and saw Big Lurch in the street with no clothes on, covered in blood, staring at the sky. Allen was later able to flag down a police car and report what she had seen. Allen then went up to Tynesha's apartment and found her lying unalive on her bedroom floor. The police arrived and took Big Lurch into custody. Los Angeles detective Raymond Jankowski testified at Big Lurch's preliminary hearing that when he found Tynesha's body in her apartment, her chest was ripped open, and that pieces of her right lung appeared to be chewed and torn. The detective also said he found a broken 3-inch knife blade near her left shoulder. Jankowski also testified that a medical examination shortly after Big Lurch was arrested found blood and flesh not belonging to him in his stomach. Investigators said Big Lurch had broken her neck and jaw, fractured one of her eye sockets, hacked open her chest, and removed her right lung. The Los Angeles Times reports that Compton Superior Court Judge Jack W. Morgan ruled that Big Lurch was sane when he allegedly tortured, mutilated, and took the life of Tynesha in their South Los Angeles apartment and would stand trial. During his trial, his defense attorney Milton Grimes argued that he had been under the influence of PCP at the time of the killing. His controversial lyrics were also brought back up. According to court records, investigators testified that considering the song, "I Did It To You," and the facts of the present case, quote, it appeared to him to be a blueprint of this particular homicide of the way it occurred, end quote. A psychiatrist testified that Big Lurch suffered mental impairment due to his drug habit. Big Lurch told jurors that he committed the crime during a 5-day PCP binge, according to MTV. But Deputy District Attorney Drew Josfan countered, under a state law adopted in the 90s, a defendant cannot plead insanity if the mental illness is caused by a drug addiction or drug use. The judge agreed with Josfan. In less than an hour, the jury reached a guilty verdict. He was convicted of first-degree murder, torture, and aggravated mayhem, according to the LA Times. During Tynesha's funeral, friends and family said she had dreams of becoming a model. Her friend Tanisha Lowe said, quote, "She was beautiful. No matter what was going on in her life, she knew how to keep smiling," end quote. Big Lurch is currently serving a life sentence without the chance of parole. It's worth noting that Tynesha's mother, Carolyn, said in the Rhyme and Punishment documentary that she has her doubts about the case, saying in part, quote, "She got hit in the back of the neck with one of those little kid scooters, because a bloody handprint was on the scooter, but they said they didn't know who that was, but it wasn't his. There was evidence there like footprints, fingerprints on doors, bloody fingerprints, shoe at the back door. Where did all that evidence go? Whose DNA is that?" They said the DNA test came up lost. They made it look like he did all this work to her. It's no way he could have done that work. Because of the way she was messed up, hatred had to have been there. And like he said, he didn't hate her. To me, he didn't have a fair trial. It's like, he did it. We're gonna put all this on him. He done it. It's over. That was it. My mom always says you got to forgive, but I'll never forget what happened to her. But yeah, I forgave him. I don't believe he done that. I believe he was probably off that PCP and he tripped. He saw that piece of lung lying on the floor and he probably figured it was a piece of meat or whatever. So he just took it and started chewing on it. I believe he should have another trial, and I believe everything will come out then," end quote. The judge also added a second consecutive life sentence. He is serving his time within the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, according to their website. In a wrongful death lawsuit filed in April 2003 in Los Angeles Superior Court, Tynesha's mother claimed that Big Lurch's record label had provided him with drugs to, quote, encourage him to act out in an extreme violent manner so as to make him more marketable as a gangster rap artist, according to an article at the time from the Australian-based news website, theage.com.au. The lawsuit named Big Lurch, Death Row Records, which was ran by rap mogul Suge Knight, Stress Free Records, and two employees as defendants. According to a 2003 article from Entertainment Weekly, Suge Knight denied the suit's claims that his label gave drugs and encouragement to Big Lurch to incite him to commit violence that would make him more marketable as a gangster rapper. In fact, he says, he has no connection at all to Big Lurch, telling news website Reuters, quote, "I don't know this guy. Nobody from our company knows this guy. I never even heard the guy rap," end quote. Responding to Knight's denial, Winston McKesson, Carolyn Stinson's lawyer, admitted that the filing might have been based on a faulty assumption of a connection between Big Lurch and Death Row, saying, quote, "We're continuing to investigate. If it turns out that Death Row is right, that there is no connection, we will drop them from the lawsuit immediately," end quote. As of the making of this video, I could not find any credible information on the outcome of the lawsuit. In 2004, Stress Free Entertainment and Black Market Records released Big Lurch's solo album, It's All Bad. Tynesha left behind 2 young children. Hey y'all, this story is one of the most tragic and unforgettable cases that I've covered on this channel. The most unfortunate part is that Tynesha lost her life in such a sinister way. May she rest in peace. Please leave your thoughts, comments, and condolences in the comment section down below.